Alrighty, who we got? And where have we got here? The Dorset. Right, here we go. I think I'm going to be needing this. How are we all? Thank you all, three of you. I don't know if that includes me. It might well do. Anything to bump up the numbers. Obviously a bit early, going to be 8 o'clock. Give or take a minute or two after, as usual. Try and get the numbers up. Any special requests for the music while we're waiting? The beach, oh, it's all right for some. All right for some. Oh, right, okay, yeah, which version now, huh? EE version. Oh, that's not the version I like. Well, anything to please his audience. I don't get it. Well, obviously I do get the song, but the Esperanto version just feels a lot fuller and oomphier in the bass. It's ready. Have a good rummage. Robes. What's robes? Does this come across as really loud? Because obviously it seems loud to me. Oh yes, I was there the other week with Sharon. Yes, yes. Lovely new cafe they've got there. So apparently we have 4 people here. Oh no, 5. Who else is here? Come on, talk to me. Not loud enough? Well, the thing is, if I turn it up that loud, I wouldn't hear myself. Got to get the tools of the trade ready. Can't go reading out the wrong tracks. Oh, someone else has checked in. Who's this? Oh yeah, that's what they all say, David. Yeah, I gathered that. Who's the Potter? You're going to have to remind me, because YouTube handles, I've no idea. Lisa Hawkins, that's easy to understand. Lisa H. Well, we got 9. We've still got about 4 or 5 minutes to go before 8, so just kick back and chill out and enjoy the music. KV bookies that are in the house, preparing the revised odds post-draw. Oh yes, the broken bar. Yeah. Horrible. Tony, hello. Pinky up, yeah, well, there we go. You can just about make out the pink in the gym. It's Pink Gin and Tonic. It's Landmark, Vinmark, Yinmark, Danmark, something like that from Tesco. No lipstick hostess. Yeah, so funny. I'm not that much in touch with my feminine side. Very nice. Prosecco, yes. I tend to wait till the weekend for wine, I have to say. Just going to find something else for after kissing the machine. Oh, thank God for that. Oops, did I say that? Oh, wrong track. Didn't want that one. Wanted this one. Right, I'm back. Back in the house. Wilma, hi. We'll give people a few minutes after 8 o'clock and then we'll get on with it. In the meantime, for all 15 of you, no, 16 and counting, very good. We are getting there, slowly but surely. I know people have other lives to lead, and that's absolutely fine. On demand, I'm available on demand. So just to while away the minutes with some idle chat and a relatively day free of being online-ish today and yesterday. The future of this group after the tournament. I think the eagle-eyed amongst you may have seen one or two comments from me along the lines of, yes, it's going to continue. My work permitting and giving me the time, probably from September onwards. Clearly, obviously, people can feel free to contribute to comments and posts and on-topic links in between tournaments, on the subject of which I have been playing around with some ideas, and I know I may have floated one of them recently, insofar as I think maybe the next one, if not the next one, whenever that is, I do not know at this stage, may well be the album's equivalent of this very tournament, not necessarily being reflective of the artists, the current lineup of artists that were in the dedicated artist poll in round one. Then may be different, who knows? But suffice to say that at this stage, there is a very loose, long, well, not really very long, but obviously it's not going to be as long as the singles list was. Just not going to work that way. I don't think you can have at least 10 albums in a poll like I had at least 10 singles in a poll. So all the technicalities, no idea. At some point I'll provide more info, but that is my thought at the moment. That's going to be the next, I would say, sort of big one, because that's quite an expansive, or it could have the potential to be quite expansive, I think. But maybe in between big ones, I may do a a specific artist World Cup in the same way that I did OMD. So who knows what people would like. Hello everyone that's just joining. I've just been rabbiting on, pending us getting the numbers up. I'll look to get started about 5 past-ish, but in the meantime, it's rattling on, getting some ideas out. So maybe a dedicated artist tournament, like maybe Depeche Mode, or maybe Arranger, or maybe Ultravox, or maybe Gary Newman, or blah, blah, blah. So that would be the specific artist's entire studio albums, as near as I can get it, although I'll probably miss one out. It did okay with OMD, but it would include B-sides, any non-album tracks that were commercially released. And yes, it's going to have to be in the UK because, you know, it's going to be easier for me to do that. But I think if you're a fan, wherever you are, you're going to know these tracks, I would have thought. So B-side of I Die, You Die in the UK will have been the same, maybe, arguably, I don't know, in Europe. So that's what I'm thinking anyway. Maybe a dedicated artist tournament next at some point, but not yet, depending on stuff. Right, we have 4 minutes past. Do a draw to choose the artist. That's a very good point. I was thinking about maybe a poll. If people haven't had enough of polls by then, but once this is over, yes, I think probably a poll would be best, assuming that it's not OMD. I think I'm going to have to leave OMD out of that, really, to be fair, unless non-OMD fan page people pipe up and say, no, we want OMD, then I would consider it. But I think, yeah, Ultravox could be good. Simple Minds could be good. Depeche Mode, I think, would be maybe arguably favourite. Erasure, Humanly, you know, the choice goes on. So that's just my thoughts, just sharing it with you. The name of the group may change going forward to be reflective of the tournament that's underway at that time. Hoping we don't lose a crowd of people because of that, because, you know, it's still going to be me managing it. So that's just what I'm thinking anyway. But the group name will change according to whatever the tournament is at that time, because we want to make it eye-catching to fans of whoever the artist is. Anyway, right, so we've got 6 minutes past. We've got 29. Someone's lost. I've lost someone because I've been wittering on too long. Right, okay. We'll just put that there. I'm just going to can the music. This deserves full focus, as always, because I don't want to screw it up. Okay, so 6 minutes past. Any latecomers are going to have to do it on catch-up. That's just the way it is. So who else have we got? We've got Zosha, or Zozia, Mary Eve, yes, Justin, hi, Lee, no, it's Jar tonight. Slightly tighter fitting though, but no, I'm not going to stand up just to show just how tight it is. Good to know that the playlists are being hammered. Thank you. And of course, the Spotify ones that you put together, excellent. Who else we got? Oh yeah, David, of course. Veronica, hi. Bob, hi. Derek, hi. Everybody else, hi. Bucks Fizz. No, it's not Bucks Fizz, unless of course you mean, oh, cheesy music. I really like my guilty pleasure, I'm sorry, is The Land of Make Believe. That is cheesy synth pop, arguably. I love it. It was never going to be a chance it would be included in the tournament, but I'm just getting it out there that I'm a big fan of The Land of Make Believe. So I'm afraid, yes. Yes, it's just the way it is. Right, shall we get this show on the road? We've got 36, so I think it's high time. Thanks everyone for tuning in from wherever you are, Afghanistan, USA, Europe, up north in England, Scotland, wherever you are. Thank you. It means a lot to have your company. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this if there was no interest. But there is a certain geeky, geeky edge to this, isn't there? But I guess we're all enjoying it, so at least we hope so anyway. So let's crack on. It's now 8 minutes past the appointed hour. So here is the Synthpop Sun Hat of Fate. It has been given a good stirring. I'm just doing it again for your viewing displeasure. I must get used to staring at the camera instead of staring down there. I'll never get used to it. So anyway, here we go. Round 3. 64 tracks, 32 ties, head to head, as you are probably all well aware by now. Their voting will begin tomorrow. What time? I don't know, sometime in the morning. You'll see them in the usual way in the announcements. Anybody that has recently joined the group, welcome in person. Please, 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 please. You'll find the polls under the announcements tab. You don't have to scroll through the comments, okay? Look at the About This Group section. I should be recording this, shouldn't I? Look at the About This Group section, which gives you the ins and outs. The big pinned announcement, which has stayed ever present in the announcements tab. I've not removed it. I may have tweaked it every now and again, according to progression in the tournament. Of course, it makes sense to do that. But that is it. I've seen comments that people don't know where the polls are. I'm not buying that. They're under the announcements. Save it once you find it, so whatever, but that's where they are. That's where they'll always be. Consider yourselves told in the nicest possible way. Oh, I need a drink after that. Right, so we have a lot of we have a few artists that got all their tracks through, as Matt has pointed out, and my squeaky chair. I'm going to try and stay static. I know I should get it sorted, but hey, it's what makes it reasonably, or one of the things that make it reasonably endearing, I suppose, this event. My squeaky chair, my sun hat, and my invariably large glass of wine. Not tonight. Yes, that's correct. 5 tracks. You're counting one artist, me being OCD. 5 artists. I don't see any Vince Clarke titled tracks in the artist name. So there we go. That's all I'm saying on that, but I get your point. Yes, he does. OMD4, Talk have got 3, of course. Anybody else? I don't have the spreadsheet open. I'm doing it as I go along. That's the way it is. So I'm just going to get on with it now. It has gone 10 past. So let us proceed. First of 32 ties is possibly a tournament favourite, or maybe definitely a tournament favourite. It is Yazoo, Only You. First out of the hat, Only You, Yazoo. Going to be taken on. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had Don't Go? Oh, Don't Go, shall we? Let's do it. See what I can do. It is. Well, there we go. It's Bronski Beat, Hit That Perfect Beat against Only You, Yazoo. What do we think about that? I know what I think. Personally, foregone conclusion, but I could be wrong. I've been known to be wrong before. Right, so that's the first one. Bronski Beat, Hit That Perfect Beat against Only You, Yazoo. Nothing to tantalize the electric taste buds as yet, but it's early days for that. Next up, it is, I guess they're all going to be big, well, big-ish. However, this is a big one. It is our friends Electric, Tubeway Army. Tubeway Army, Mr. Newman. Who's he going to get? Is he going to draw himself? Cars, cars, cars. Could be cars. So it's Tubeway Army against, forgive the cutting of the draw cards here, draw pieces of paper, but it is Soft Cell Bed Sitter against our friends Electric. Interesting. Will the 12-inch mix still hold sway, I wonder? Doesn't matter which version, I have to repeat, of course, but for me, that 12-inch is the cream of the song. You can argue if you like. You're going to be wrong. Right. So the third tie, first out of the Synthpop Sun Hat of Fate, is from 1981. It's Girls on Film, Duran Duran. Girls on Film, Duran Duran. And it is going to be taking on well, I would like to think this has a reasonable chance of progression, actually. I would love to see it go forward. It is the eponymous Talk Talk from Talk Talk against Duran Duran. Label mates and shared producer, if I'm not mistaken. So that's Duran Duran, Girls on Film, against Talk 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 Talk. Talk Talk. Talk, 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 forever echoed. Good tie. I think that's a good tie. What do you think? Do you think Talk Talk could make it? I'd like to think so. Right, next up. Okay. I'm just going to show it. I will repeat it if anybody is blind, in the sense of not having a picture, just relying on sound. It's made of Orleans orchestral maneuvers in the dark. And of course, she is the inaugural OMD World Cup champion that took place in the spring, courtesy of your good self. And I know a lot of you voted for the move. So Made of Orleans from a single release was early 82, wasn't it? Yeah. Made of Orleans, taking on, not propaganda, yeah, well, you before I draw that, yeah, pregnant pause, what can I say? You would like to hope that the a lot of the tracks from, well, firstly, the wild cards, and obviously the tracks that progressed from the one artist, one track groups would, I suppose at this stage, draw each other, maybe, in order to guarantee progression, rather than being KO'd by the like of Made of Orleans. That would be, no. I know we can't do anything about the doc, but at least Duel is in. However, OMD Made of Orleans is going to be facing off Taking on. Well, it's a shame for this one because, well, anyway. Heaven 17, Let Me Go against Maid of Orleans, OMD. What do we think of that? Let Me Go against the Maid. Let Me Go against the Maid. Right. Moving on. Next tie. I would have to concur, Mr. Gardner. I would Heaven 17? No. Well, it depends on the non-OMD fans. I don't know exactly how many people are in this group that are not in the OMD Facebook fan group. I just don't know. Anyway, I'm not trying to drag this. No, I don't need a slice of lemon because it's pink. I know it might not look like it, but it's got that fruitiness already. So I don't need the conflict of lemon in a pink G&T. Thank you for the suggestion, but no, that would be heresy, really. Okay, next up, in the first track from the next tie, it is Flock of Seagulls, Wishing That I Had If I Had a Photograph of You, from 1982, from the Listen album, I think. Yes. Going to be facing off against well, it's a good draw, probably the kind of draw that I was alluding to a little bit earlier on. It would be good to have one of these two progress. It is Echo Beach, Martha and the Muffins against Wishing, Flock of Seagulls. We haven't had, I don't believe, a truly tantalizing tie. Obviously, as I'm drawing these, I'm not able to write down, and the pieces of paper are just, they're on top of each other at the moment. So clearly, if anybody, Kit, maybe, is writing these ties down or even putting it onto a spreadsheet, that'd be fantastic. I'll put it up later and you save me a lot of time. But anyway, that's the way it is. I can't remember even what the first one was. Right, moving on. First out of the hat for the next tie is Blind Vision, Blancmange. Blancmange, Blind Vision, from 1984, if I am not mistaken. Yes. Now I tell you what. What, that I'm not writing them down? Well, how can I? Do you see me writing them down? Do you see me writing them down? I don't have a glamorous secretary here. I mean, I did ask my wife, but she would rather, watch from afar and watch telly downstairs, to be perfectly honest. She's not as much of a geek as I am. Right, so Blind Vision taking on Blancmange. If you're watching, by the way, dear heart, Sharon, you might be, I don't know. Blancmange, Blind Vision taking on The Look of Love, ABC, from 82, of course, Lexicon of Love. Interesting pairing. I know which I would like to progress out of the two. What do you think, guys? Wanting and a realistic reality may be two completely different things. Of course, I can speculate, but well, I shouldn't go public with my preferences too often. Next up is Promised You a Miracle, Simple Minds, from New Gold Dream, 1982, first single from that album. Taking on taking on. Promised You a Miracle against one of the favourites. It's Fade to Grey, Visage. Is that a step too far for Simple Minds? Arguably. Possibly. I think Visage, but hey. Next up is going to be from 81, Speak and Spell, New Life, Depeche Mode. Successfully managed to overwhelm Ultravox, of course, in the second round, if I'm not mistaken, Dancing with Tears in My Eyes. Right, New Life against A Miracle Needed, yeah. Well, it's not an all-German thing. I hope it's global. You would have seen the screenshots I posted earlier this week with all the countries. Now, how many of those are dormant spammers? I don't know. But the membership looks truly global. So I'm glad about that. Anyway, that's just my 2 pence worth. Moving on. So New Life is going to be taking on the one I think a few people have been waiting for. It's Propaganda Duel. Dual Propaganda against New Life, Depeche Mode. Please feel free to share your views in the comments about that one. Next up is first appearance for Eurythmics, Here Comes the Rain Again. Of course, overcoming, I think it was it Party Fears 2, if I'm not mistaken. Could be mistaken. I think it was Party Fears 2 by about 100 plus. Oh, what a shame, eh? But there we go. Okay, so Here Comes the Rain Again against Tears for Fears, Shout. Excuse the poor snipping there, but you do get the gist pretty clearly. Tears for Fears, Shout against Here Comes the Rain Again. Eurythmics. Interesting. No, I don't believe we have had two true giants drawn together, and we certainly haven't had the same artist tracks drawn together. There's always a first. Right, next up is Thomas Dolby, She Blinded Me with Science. Science! No, I'm not going to sing it. I know somebody requested that the other day. They reckon I should sing at least the first line of the chorus of each one I draw out, but no. I insist, no. You do not want to hear that. Thomas Dolby, She Blinded Me with Science. Okay. 2 in a row. 4, Tears for Fears, Mad World. Possibly the end of Thomas. Possibly. Or definitely. You can tell me. Mad World against She Blinded Me with Science. Right. Next out of the Sun Hat is a biggie from 1981. It's Don't You Want Me? The Human League. Not the trimmed bit at the top. So, Don't You Want Me is going to be taking on. Is it going to be Heaven 70? Oh, dearie me. You can see it'll be what it will be. No, it's not Heaven 17. It's Kraftwerk, Autobahn against the Human League. Don't You Want Me? Of course, there's still scope for Love Action and Temptation, or even Come Live With Me to be drawn together. What would we think about that? So, Autobahn against Don't You Want Me. Is from the 1980 album Journeys to Glory. No, 1980. Yes, 1980. 1981 it's released, wasn't it? But this single, yeah, December 80. It's, to cut a long story short, Spandau Ballet. Spandau Ballet, to cut a long story short. Some might argue it got progressively worse for them after that. So, to cut a long story short, against, could be a conflict for some. Aha, Take On Me, against, to cut a long story short. Interesting. What is the consensus there, pray tell? Excuse me while I have a quick sip. Right, moving on apace. It is first down for the next tie. West End Girls, Pet Shop Boys. And that's going to be entertaining at their leisure. It's going to be, it's a collision. It's Ultravox Vienna against West End Girls. I think we have possibly, arguably, our first clash of giants. Do we think? Would we concur? Do we concur that that is a clash of giants? Vienna against West End Girls. Certainly couldn't get two more different tracks, that is for sure, and artists, of course. Next up is going to be almost two in a row, but it is the solo number one for Midge. Yeah, If I Was. Of course, it's not going to be Ultravox because that's the only track they have left in the tournament. If I Was against. I think we have a tournament favourite with this. It's Enola Gay, OMD, against If I Was, Midge Ure. I think I know which way that will possibly go. Some might choose to argue with that. I don't know, pray tell. I'm just going to rearrange my desk here. That one can go there like that. So Enola Gay against If I Was. Going to be drawn out of the hat so soon. It's a Sin, Pet Shop Boys. It's a Sin. Taking on Let's Dance, David Bowie against It's a Sin. Is it time to say goodbye to the Thin White Dukes track from Let's Dance? I don't know. I don't know. Some of these I think going to be fairly close. I mean, there's some obviously sort of obviously foregone conclusions he's saying. I don't know. Potato, potato, I think. Next up. Sack the 2611. That's not... Okay, anyway, moving on. Duran Duran, Save a Prayer is next out of the hat for the next tie. First out for the next tie. And that is going to be hosting virtually Living on the Ceiling against Save a Prayer. So Blancmange taking on Duran Duran. That's an interesting tie. I definitely know which way I would go. Do you know? Next out of the hat is going to be Eurythmics, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. Yes, it's a biggie, I suppose. Is it a monster? Is it a giant? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. It didn't exactly rake in the votes, if memory serves me right. And none of the wildcards have come out yet. I think there are 5 surviving wildcards from round 1. So, Sweet Dreams against Come Live With Me, Heaven 17 against Eurythmics, Sweet Dreams. Next tie, first up for it is going to be Wishful Thinking, China Crisis from Working with Fire and Steel, Possible Pop Songs Volume 2, if I'm not mistaken. Against China Crisis taking on Interesting, thoughtful. It's Sylvian Sakamoto, Forbidden Colours. Not necessarily the most exciting of pairings, but good tracks in different ways. Again, I know which way I would go. Do you? Let's see, Sakamoto-san. Sorry, I should drop the accent, shouldn't I? Anyway, while those comments come in thick and fast on the teleprinter, next up for the next tie is Ashes to Ashes, David Bowie. And that is going to be paired with it is a wild card, and it's the wild card of, excuse me, OMD, Messages against Ashes to Ashes. There we go. Some people are going to feel conflicted, I'm sure. Again, I absolutely know which way I'm going to get. I think it's on record that Messages is my favourite OMD song, and probably my, let's see, 1, 2, 3, fourth favourite track by anyone, anywhere, anytime, any place. So, Messages against Ashes to Ashes. It's going to be an early exit for someone's favourite there. As they all will be, really, if you think about it. Anyway, next up for the next time is Small Town Boy, Bronski Beats. Can we vote out some of those OMD songs? You're not an OMD fan then, Pete Rocker? Moving on. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, Matt Milchard. No, 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 no. So, I put that one up there too soon. So it's Small Town Boy against Just Can't Get Enough. Depeche Mode scored very highly in the last round. Over 600? Think so. So that is Just Can't Get Enough against Small Town Boy. Next up, another wild card from the one artist, one track group, The Safety Dance, Men Without Hats. Yes, it is. Managed to overcome Whip It fairly straightforwardly, which I was very disappointed about, but hey, you know, it's just me. Right, so it's Men Without Hats against Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now, against Men Without Hats, The Safety Dance. We move on. Well, Nora, what can I say other than, could I say I agree? I prefer New Life. So we have drawn those. So it's first up for next tie, and it is from first track single from the Diamond album. That must mean it's chant number 1, Spandau Ballet. Chant number 1, taking on possibly a foregone one. It's Relax, Frankie. He's off to Hollywood against chant number 1. Okay, moving on. Yeah, I agree. I think you could possibly be right, guys. Relax. Mr. Clark, Yazoo, Don't Go. Going to be paired with Don't Go, and it is a clash of giants, I can assure you of that. It's Cars, Gary Newman. So the conflicted, which way will you go? And if it's equal, will you abstain? Because there's no real room for strategic votes at this stage of the tournament, I suppose, unless, you know, you're like somebody that said, well, I preferred that track to go through, so I didn't vote for that. And you know who you are, but that was the first round. Right, so that's Cars against Don't Go, Yazoo and Gary Newman. Next up is I'm not going to talk about the previous tie because we're moving forward now. It is Heaven 17, Temptation. Temptation. No comments about the opposition from the last round. Thank you very much. Temptation, Heaven 17, taking on... Oh, another one that prevailed as a result of shenanigans. It's Howard Jones, What is Love? Against Temptation, Heaven 17. Moving on is from The Colour of Spring, Talk Talk, Life's What You Make It. Paired with Heroes, David Bowie. And I have to reiterate, having watched the Live Aid documentary the other day that was here on BBC 3 and BBC 2, my favourite version of that track is self-evidently from that event. It just, yeah. So Heroes taking on Talk Talk, Life's What You Make It. Next up, some people saying Talk Talk. Yeah, we'll see. So next up is another wild card, and it's from Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Two Tribes. Two Tribes is next up for the next tie. First up for the next tie. Two Tribes are going to be taking on two in a row. It's My Life, Talk Talk. I don't think that one's necessarily going to be straightforward. It's My Life against Two Tribes. Excuse me a second. Liquid refreshments. Ah, Mrs. Damsel is in the house. And Mrs. Damsel says Heroes. Okay, well, squeaky chair aside, I really couldn't comment. Would I be voting for Heroes? You'll have to wait and see. Next up is first track for the next tie. It is everyone's favourite Gary Newman vanquisher in the last round. It is True Faith, New Order. True Faith. Saw some quite negative comments about that track, which very much surprised me. I thought that was a firm favourite for most people, but it seems not. Is that going to be reflected in voting here as it takes on? Probably not. Not to denigrate the artist, however, it's a challenge. It's Aha Hunting High and Low against True Faith, New Order. Again, I know which way I'm going. And it's going to be, first up is another wild card. I would say this could hopefully get to last 16, but it all depends on the luck of the draw. It is Being Boiled, the Human League. Being Boiled, the Human League. Coming to the end of the hat. I did count them out earlier, so I hope they're all still in there. Being Boiled, the Human League, taking on... It's a synth pop classic. It is probably one of the giants, let's face it. OMD, Electricity against Being Boiled. Yeah. What do we think about that? I think that's a good tie. That's an eye-catching tie for sure. if not quite a clash of giants. Right, next is one follows the other. Love Action, Human League, Love Action. Taking on the conqueror of Images of Heaven, A Little Respect, taking on Love Action. I think that's an interesting pairing. I'm not quite sure which way I would go in that one, if truth be told. Actually, it could be a problem for me, but there we go. Right. Next up, first up for the next tie. Another wild card, so therefore it can only be Personal Jesus, Depeche Mode. Probably the latest in the 80s, latest survivor from the latter part of the 80s, latest and oldest, well, the young, yeah, you know what I mean. Couldn't get much later in the decade than that single. Right, so Personal Jesus taking on Blue Monday. Joins the party. New Order, Blue Monday against Personal Jesus, Depeche Mode. What do we think about that? Is it a foregone conclusion? Right, coming towards the end now, you'll be glad to know, possibly is Feels Like Heaven, Fiction Factory. Entertaining at Their Leisure. Pet Shop Boys, Suburbia. Fiction Factory achieved a decent vote haul, if I'm not mistaken, in the last round. Can they repeat it? Big ask, but it is a classic track, Feels Like Heaven. So there we go. So Feels Like Heaven, indeed, Fiction Factory against Suburbia, Pet Shop Boys. Probably down to last. Oh, it's the last two. It's the last two. So there we go. It is Planet Earth, Duran Duran. And it is the last one in the hat. I hope it is 32 ties. If not, I'm in trouble, but I did count them out. Anybody know who it is? If you've been tracking the draw, tell me now. You might win something, but then again, maybe you won't. It is Planet Earth against EMI label mates, those boys from Kraftwerk, The Model. Is there a certain degree of irony that they are the very last out of the hat? If you're looking for signs, there it is, right in front of you. The very last out of the hat, number 64. It is The Model taking on Planet Earth, Duran Duran. So, like I say, I would go and read them back, but I don't want to go mixing up my pieces of paper. You'll just have to trust that I'll get it right. But of course, I will be looking back through this video as I do so. It may be later this evening, possibly not. It depends, on stuff, as in how tired I am. The need for sleep or an early rise in the morning. But voting will begin tomorrow, either in the morning or in the afternoon. 4 polls. The next set of 4 polls same day will be in the afternoon or in the evening, probably afternoon, but again, depends on stuff, what I'm doing, washing my hair. So that's over 4 days. So 32 ties over 4 days, 4 in the morning or afternoon, 4 in the afternoon or evening. Prepare to sweat. I think there are some interesting ties in there. Not that many huge ties. I don't think of giants. Some interesting, fairly straightforward opposition for some of the bigger boys, arguably. Let's see. After the tournament is over, are you going to reveal your votes? Well, you can see my votes now. You can go through. Anyone can go back, track back through the polls because they're still in comment. They may not be in announcements right now. Of course they're not, because that way is just too much traffic in announcements. But you can go back and you can track your votes. Round 1, poll 1, poll 2. Round 2, poll 1, poll 2, poll 3, and so on and so forth. Everyone can trace everybody else's votes from previous rounds. Okay. So there we go. I think that concludes this evening's proceedings for round 3, the round 3 draw in the Synthpop Singles World Cup. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed your time here this evening, and I'll be seeing you again very soon, I am sure. So, adios, tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, and bienvenue. Au revoir. Bye.